rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, back in the saddle once again. Yes, had a weekend off. Well, it wasn't off. It was off for the show, but I myself was not off. I survived another recital videotape, but now the real work begins, as I was telling 3 Chevy through private message. Now the real work begins. I get to take all of the raw video and I have to cut it up and put in special effects and, put in some logos and things like that. So the real work begins for me. Hopefully the finished product will be available in roughly 3 to 4 weeks. All right. So, anyway, I understand you guys had your own mini show. Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong here, but apparently, somebody, definitely not Karen, pressed some sort of a strange button or whatever, and, you guys ended up in your own little video chat somehow. So that's good because, the venue that we were at, and this was one of the things that I was worried about, the venue that we were at, cell phone coverage is not that great, and they don't have a guest Wi-Fi network. So, it was spotty coverage at best, so I wouldn't have been able to necessarily turn anything on for you guys. So there you go. Well, it seems like everybody that was there seems like they were saying that it was really great. So I'm glad you guys are able to entertain yourself when the master of disaster is not there. And yes, I am talking about me. Okay, let's go. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off. And by the way, too, I actually was off of social media for the most part. There were a few times that I popped in to a couple of social media things and posted a few things, but for the most part, I was off. I was off. Just because of the hectic schedule of things that were going on. So, and you guys, apparently I need to switch up my ads because now you guys have them all down by heart. Bonnie is dropping dimes over here about everything. And poor Amy, I guess Amy didn't make it into it. Ms. T of Text didn't make it into it. Anyway, all right. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight, Pops, McGroin, and partner are up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat. If you're wearing one like me, sorry, had to swallow. If you're wearing one like me, and place your hand over your heart, and place your hand over your heart, and follow along with Pops McGroin and partner as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
All right, and of course, I thank you, Pops McGroin and partner, for that wonderful rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. Please note that if you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting the pledge in your style or performing the pledge in your style, however you want to do it. And then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and send it off to me. Send it via email to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And Bonnie, it only didn't sound good because you have a dirty mind. Anyway, let's move on from here. And go to our headline sponsor for tonight, which is, let's see, where do I have that? No. There it is. All right, let's go to theflagshirt.com. And I think I've got them up. Hold on. All this wonderful stuff. There we go. Theflagshirt.com. Head on over to theflagshirt.com. Check out all of their patriotic styles in the wonderful red, white, and blue. They have guaranteed delivery for the 4th of July if you shop now and order now. Now, keep in mind, they have men's, women's, kids, made in the USA. They've got all kinds of accessories for in the red, white, and blue style. So get yourself prepared for our Independence Day holiday. You know, the original, the one and only, No King's Day. Okay? The original and the one and only No King's Day. That is Independence Day, which happens to land on the 4th of July. If you order $75 or more of their product, you will get free shipping. But I know everybody doesn't have the ability to order $75 or more. Maybe they don't get it. You know, maybe they don't have enough stuff that you want, or, maybe you're just ordering just a single shirt. That's fine. I'm going to help you out. If you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, that's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you will be presented with a coupon code, and all you have to do is take that coupon code, copy, and paste it into the promo code box at theflagshirt.com at checkout, and you will receive $5 off your order. So go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get that coupon code, copy and paste that into the promo box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order. Once again, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you'll get $5 off your order. Guaranteed delivery for the Independence Day, the 4th of July. So head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. You guys are all great. My, someone that I know loves watching you in the chat. Sometimes, they don't get a chance to get into the chat, but they love watching you, and they were telling me all about it this weekend. Anyway. Okay, so let's get things kicked off. Apparently, according to 3 Chevy, I take 2 days off and all hell goes and breaks loose throughout the world. No, I am not. I am not that powerful. I promise. I'm not. But apparently, Donald Trump decided to go and take out the nuclear facilities over in Iran. It's about damn time. We've had 40 years and several presidents who have all said that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And not one of them actually did anything. And for those of you who are out there, and by that I mean you moronic Democrat leftists who sit there and say, but Obama. No, Obama didn't have them hemmed in. Obama didn't stop them. All Obama did was basically allow them to agree to kind of slow things down a little bit. All of that was going to cause an end, by the way, that whole JCPOA thing was going to end here just in the next couple of years. And so Donald Trump basically told Iran, hey, you got to come to the table. You got to come to the table. You got 60 days. Come to the table. By the way, your one thing that I am going to be non-negotiable on is the fact that you are not going to have a nuclear weapon. Iran kept saying, no, we are going to have a nuclear weapon. We are going to have a nuclear program. We are going to do. Yeah. Anyway, what ended up happening is Donald Trump on day 61 basically looked at Israel and said, okay, go and do what you got to do. And Israel went ahead and did what they do best, which is, of course, taking care of business without or with very minor, if any, civilian casualties. Very, very targeted strikes. Israel, I have to say, is the one thing that I can tell you is that Israel is the one thing that they are very good at is very targeted strikes, and they have practiced quite a bit, and they are very good at it, and so they basically took care of it. They took care of the air superiority. They got the air superiority, and they pretty much cleared the way. We all knew that Israel doesn't have the big boomers. They just don't. They don't have the big bunker busting bombs that it would have taken to hit Iran's nuclear facilities that were buried deep underground. It just they weren't. They weren't going to do it. And yeah. So basically, what ended up happening is Donald Trump finally just said, "Look, yeah, we're done," and sent them in. Sent in the bombers. They went in. They blew up 3 holes. Which the memes were running around, and of course the leftists hate this, but the memes were running around that Donald Trump's next golf course is being built in Iran. 3 holes have already been created. Anyway, you gotta love it when they just go nuts. I'm sorry, the left just goes absolutely crazy, batshit crazy for all kinds of stuff. It just, yeah. Anyway, so. Donald Trump went ahead and bombed Iran, took care of the problems, took care of the things that were out there. Now, there is still some question because obviously this is Iran. Iran is going to put out all kinds of propaganda about this stuff, but according to Trump and according to other sources, the nuclear sites, the 3 nuclear sites, have been obliterated. Now, there is some question as to whether or not, because there was trucks that were seen via satellites. There were some trucks that were seen going into at least I think it's Fordham, whatever, but the one nuclear facility for sure. And it was suggested that there is a possibility that Iran basically got some of their uranium out before the bombs actually went and dropped. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. There is a possibility that it could have happened. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Iran's not all that stupid. They know that they're eventually going to get hit. It just seems kind of interesting and a coincidental process that you see these trucks come in. Those trucks could have really had anything in them. Now, all of that being said, of course, Iran basically has said now that the bombing is done and everything's over with, they have said they are not going to stop their nuclear program. Just means you guys are going to get hit again and again and again, as long as we have a president in Israel stays true to the cause. Now, Trump, of course, kept telling him, hey, now that you've got your, nuclear sites are gone, you got to come to the table. And you're going to have much more attacks, okay? Much more attacks, which will be far greater if you don't come to the table. We're done. Iran, Trump has said, quote, Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. He added, there will either be peace or there will be tragedy for Iran, far greater than what we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay, that all makes sense. And again, we're talking about 40 years worth of talking about this with Iran. Iran essentially needed to have more than just a slap on the wrist. They really, it didn't help that Obama handed them pallet loads of cash. It didn't help that Biden handed them pallet loads of cash. And are they going to be able to rebuild? Yeah, potentially, but it's going to take them many, many years to do it. That's provided, of course, that they don't have something else that happened. Now, contrary to popular belief, everybody sits here and is thinking, oh, Trump bombed them and we're going to get into a war. And, this is going to be World War III. Yeah. No. No, it's not. Yeah. No. Anyway. Now, one of the bigger issues that, of course, everybody, and by everybody, I mean, there are actually congressmen on both the left and the right, believe it or not, that are all sitting here saying, no, wait a minute, Trump authorized it. Oh my gosh, Trump authorized this. And, it wasn't with Congress's approval. Congress is the only one constitutionally. It's kind of funny that the Constitution, becomes a basically a stick to try and hit the right with at convenient times, but is also conveniently forgotten when the left wants to do something that is specifically against the Constitution. For an example, suppress speech on things like COVID as a recent history point. But anyway, there are people on both sides that are like, oh my gosh, this is going to make World War III. Yeah, no. Nope. World War III hasn't happened. It's not going to. You want to know why? Because pretty much everybody in that part of the world, they all know, they may not say it, but they all know that having a nuclear Iran is detrimental to their existence. Because Iran, while their focus has been on Israel and the United States and the West, you need to understand that the factions, and I'm talking about the Sunni Muslims, the Shiite Muslims, all of the Muslims that are over there, they're like tribes. They're like the tribes of the North Americas before the Europeans came and, basically came and established America. They fight with each other. Basically, in their mindset, if you don't believe, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of like the left. Oh, is there a similarity there? I think so. But anyway, this is kind of like the whole idea that, hey, if you don't believe as I believe, you don't live as I live. Yeah. You guys, you guys are definitely my enemy. No matter what. Doesn't really matter. If they don't believe as you do, they're going to go ahead and they're going to take care of that. Okay? Now, all of that being said, the Middle East countries that would normally go, hey, you know what? That probably wasn't a good idea. They're all like breathing a sigh of relief right now. Because if Iran had gotten a nuclear weapon, I mean, you guys, the left sits here and says, oh, Trump is unstable. Trump's got his finger on the nuclear button. Oh my gosh, we're all going to die. Yeah, Sure. It's nothing compared to those guys in Iran. Nothing compared to that. All right? And so all of the places like Saudi, like the UAE, even to a lesser extent, places like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. Yeah, Lebanon, I think, is a country. Can't remember. But anyway, a lot of those Middle Eastern countries over there, they basically are breathing a sigh of relief now. Because now this potential terror thing is no longer over their heads. And with the destruction, essentially, that Israel has done with Hamas, Hezbollah has been neutered. The Houthis have absolutely no desire to get involved with America either, a fight with America. And so all of these little third world terrorist outshoots from Iran have all been beaten back and are in essentially a necessary rebuilding phase. Now that we've taken out the arms, we go and we take out the head of the snake, which is Iran. Now, the other thing that a lot of the pundits are sitting here trying to say is that Donald Trump wants regime change. Nope. No, he doesn't. He does not want regime change at all. He's not interested in that. He basically has been saying for the last 15 years, before he was president, when he was president, when he was not president, and now back in the office as president again, he's been pretty damn consistent. Literally that Iran does not need a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have it. He's been consistent about this. So where these people are getting this idea that Donald Trump is looking for regime change and that we're going to be putting boots on the ground and we're going to be getting in there. No, it's not going to happen. Donald Trump went in, did what he had to do. Israel is going to mop up the rest. And we're pretty much done. Our hands are like, we're done. Hands are brushed off. We're out of here. Trump doesn't believe in long-term stuff. In fact, that's one of the reasons why he got so basically so irritated at Afghanistan, because Afghanistan, we were in for 20 years. We were over there for 20 years. And he wanted out. But the problem is that he couldn't get out because we didn't have a stable environment to be able to release everybody back into. He doesn't believe in us being the nation builders. He doesn't believe in us going and spending a whole bunch of money. As far as he's concerned, if the Iranian people go and do a revolt and do their own regime change, that's on them. In his mind, there was one thing and one thing only. Iran has threatened his life a couple of times. They have threatened our allies more than a few times. And as far as he's concerned, all he wanted to do was get rid of the nuclear facilities. And he did it. He's done. He's like, hey, you know what? We took out the threat. The threat's over. We're out of here. It's just like with Soleimani in his first term. He wanted Soleimani. Soleimani was the brains behind many of the attacks that had been going on against Americans over in the Middle East. He wanted that guy gone. He went, he got it. Boom. That's it. We're done. We're done. So he is pretty much at the point now where it's like, all right, job's over. Let's move on. Let's go to the next thing. And his next thing is now to create some sort of a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. I got something a little bit more on that in just a minute. Now, let's shift over to the congressional pundits who all seem to think that they know the Constitution and what Trump can and cannot do. Well, first of all, Trump is in charge of the military, period. Congress is not in charge of it. Trump is in charge of it. Constitutionally speaking, Congress can declare war. But that doesn't mean that Trump, being the commander-in-chief of the military forces, can't do other actions without declaring war. And in fact, the United States has not declared war since World War II. Okay? End of story. So when you sit here and you talk about the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Afghani War, the war in Iraq, the war on terror, war on drugs, no, none of that has been an actual congressional declared war. Not one of them. Not a single one. And presidents have been engaging in military actions, okay, without express congressional consent for years. Okay? I mean, Congress has never explicitly declared war throughout any of those operations that I talked about. And none of them are considered official wars by the United States. Now, back in 1973, Congress did pass what's called the War Powers Resolution of 1973. It was done in response to Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon administrations committing U.S. troops to Southeast Asia without congressional approval, meaning Korea, Vietnam, and others. All right. Now, the War Powers Act requires this, that the president communicate to Congress the committal of troops within 48 hours. That's it. There you go. And he did that. In fact, if you talk to the Speaker of the House, he did what he was supposed to do. He let them know, he let Congress know within 48 hours, hey, by the way, we're going to bomb Iran. We're going to bomb Iran. Yeah. He let them know. And these people these people are sitting here thinking, oh, yeah, he needs congressional approval. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Congress only needs to declare war. And by the way, based on that War Powers Act of 1973, which, by the way, has never been constitutionally tested. Just saying. So pretty much when you're looking at stuff like this, okay, he has to communicate to Congress according to the War Powers Resolution. He has to communicate to Congress within 48 hours. Then the statute requires the president to remove all troops from whatever conflict after 60 days. That's assuming if Congress has not granted the extension. Now here's the thing. This is day, what? I think it was 36 hours. It wasn't even 2 days. It took the bombers 36 hours to take off from the U.S., fly over there, bomb the sites, come back safely, all done within 36 hours. So, yeah, sorry, guys. There's nothing that Congress can do. And AOC jumped on the whole meat bandwagon and saying, hey, we need to impeach Trump for this. We need to impeach Trump for this. Yeah, no, we don't. And believe it or not, even Adam Schiff doesn't believe her. Even Adam Schiff, who's been chomping at the bit to impeach Trump again. Yeah, he didn't even get by it. But anyway, so the president, according to Congress, under Article 2, Section 2, he has the power to direct the military. That's it. It's titled as he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Now, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 points to the U.S. Constitution grants Congress the power to declare war. But let me tell you something. There was this thing after the Constitution was ratified. It was sort of a quasi-war, but it wasn't really a war. I mean, it was a quasi-war with France. This thing called the Alien Enemies Act came out of it. This thing called the Logan Act came out of that little conflict. Yeah. So, and that was done without congressional approval. So all of this stuff there, I mean, these leftists are sitting here going and getting nuts because they can't control Trump. And Trump is doing exactly what he needs to do as commander-in-chief. Okay, he is taking care of Americans. Now, whether you believe in the isolationist theory, like we should pull back from the world and everything, the fact of the matter is, after World War II, the stance of the Americans and the United States has basically been, hey, look, we are essentially the most powerful country on the planet. We have the best fighting forces. We have the most capabilities. We have essentially the capability. I mean, we've just won back-to-back 2 world wars. We don't want another one. And so what we ended up doing, policy-wise, was we became the world's police. And unfortunately, that same activity has put us into a position where, yes, the president does need to be able to act on certain world affairs without Congress's consent. Because, again, Congress only has the power to declare war. If the president deems it necessary to go and take out and strike first on a foreign entity in a foreign state, okay, we need to be able to go and take care of that quickly, This is part of the reason why the War Powers Act was actually put into place. The American people, whether or not we believe in isolationism or not, really, honestly, does not make that much of a difference, because the fact of the matter is that in order to ensure world peace, we essentially are acting as the world police. And as long as we do this properly and benevolently, the world will have, for the majority, a peaceful time. It is a responsibility that the U.S. cannot shirk, but also it is a responsibility. It's a great power. And with great power comes great responsibility. And so you need to understand, everybody needs to understand, this kind of action is going to take place. It is going to happen. And it's because of the fact that the policy of the United States and our position in the world is such that if we were to back away, another person would take their place, and they would not take our place, and they would not be very benevolent. We found that out in the time frame between World War I and World War II. Between World War I and World War II, we were done. We were done with the world doing the world a favor. We were finished with it. It wasn't until the Japanese actually attacked Pearl Harbor, we were of the mindset that, hey, Britain, France, we'll help you guys out supply-wise, but we're not getting involved. We're not going to do it. We're not going to put boots on the ground. This is your guys' fight. This is a European situation. This is not something that we need to be involved in. Same thing over in the South Pacific. We basically said, yep, no, not our circus, not our monkeys. And now what ended up happening is we allowed that. We took that isolationism into effect, and we basically said, hey, we're not going to do it. And then Japan decided to hit Pearl Harbor. And at that point, that was when the United States said, okay, fine, we can't be on the sidelines anymore. Now, there are some people out there who supposition that had Japan not attacked us, period, if they had left us completely alone, that the entire world would be of a different nature today. We can't, prove a negative, or we can't negatively prove a positive, or whatever it is. But the point being here is that because of that simplistic action by the Japanese, and it wasn't very simple, but because of that one act by the Japanese, we became the world police. And that is the position that we are in today. And unfortunately, unless you have any other country out there that could potentially help us or take our place, which there isn't one, because believe me, you don't want China being in that spot. And believe me, they wanted to hop right to it. They want to hop right to it. But you don't want China in that position. I'd much rather have an America that acts as the benevolent world police than any other country on this planet. I don't even trust our allies to be able to do it, because I don't think they have the wherewithal nor the effectiveness. And especially in terms of Europe is being overrun by all kinds of migrant problems. They've got their own issues right now. So to sit here and to say that the United States can't act properly, which we didn't for the last 4 years, and we didn't for the 12 years prior to Trump won. And you saw what happened. Iran got close to a nuclear weapon. So this is the perfect scenario as far as that goes for how we need to deal with Iran. Now, before I get on to the next part of all of this particular mess that we have going on, let me tell you a little bit about this wonderful little place on the web known as True Social. Are you on True Social? I'm on True Social. You should be on True Social, because I'm just going to tell you, if you're not on True Social, you can't get the president's words direct from him, at least reportedly, direct from him. You can't get that. You would only get reposts. You don't see it live. Well, I'm on True Social. Right here. There it is. At @whiskey_musings is my True Social handle. It's right here in the lower left-hand corner of my screen. Lower left-hand corner of your screen. My right side, your left. At Whiskey Musings, @_musings. Whiskey_musings on True Social. And if you're looking for a great place online for news, discussion, and entertainment, then check out True Social, Donald Trump's social media website. You'll get breaking news stories and commentary from top media figures. If you want to see Trump's legendary True Social posts, then get on True Social today. Join a growing community of patriots on an actual free speech platform like Rumble, designed to avoid censorship and cancellation by big tech. Make your voice heard. Join the movement. Join True Social. Hey, and once you do, send me a hi. Find me. Listen and watch. I've been posting more on True Social here lately. I kind of left it alone because I was battling a lot of the other guys. But seriously, join True Social. You'll see all my wonderful posts about American flag, or American Pride Month, which is this month, going until next Monday. So head on over to True Social. Go to truesocial.com and sign up today. All right. Okay. Well, Iran decided to do a half-hearted attempt at getting us, and it's Fordow, Fordow, Fordow nuclear facility. Anyway, so Iran decided to throw about 14 missiles our way. 13 got taken down. One, because of the reliability of their absolutely wonderful targeting capabilities, it ended up going off in another direction, which made it basically non-lethal, and they didn't really care about it, so they didn't even bother shooting it down. But the other thing that Iran was saying is they immediately said, hey, we're going to close what's called the Strait of Hormuz. And they were thinking that, hey, this is going to be great, because what this is going to do is it's going to block 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Yeah, except there's only one problem. It wouldn't really affect America that much, or much of the Western world. Because you want to know who gets the most of Iran's oil? That would be China. China gets somewhere between 80 to 90% of their oil from Iran. Yeah, what a way to bite the hand that feeds you. Not to mention the fact, by the way, and this is something that I haven't quite figured out, because I'll be honest with you, this map kind of makes things come into perspective for me. But if you take a look at this map is the Strait of Hormuz, and it sits between it basically sits between Iran and Oman and United Arab Emirates. Kind of sits in between of them. Now, there's this little part that's right on the tip that is the opposite side of the Strait of Hormuz. And as you'll notice in this map, there's this little inset that's right over, see how far I can go before my finger goes away. Right there. In this little round circle, it kind of shows you that the deepest part, of the Strait of Hormuz, which is where everything goes through, by the way, is actually sitting in Oman's waters. See, there's this little thing known as, ownership of waters that is internationally recognized. It's basically roughly 12 miles out from a country's border. or end of land. And, yeah. So you have this Strait of Hormuz, or Hormuz, however you want to pronounce it, and the deepest part actually resides in Oman's waters. Now, this is why when Iran said, hey, we're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to close it, and you didn't see the oil futures drop or any of the oil, oil, oh my God, everybody was like, oh, they're going to close at 1/5 of the world's oil supply is going to be gone. Yeah. Well, that didn't come true because of this reason right here. Because the actual channel that is used by the shipping lanes being 2 nautical miles wide, separated by a bit of a buffer zone, reside all within Oman's waters, territorial waters. So do you really honestly believe that Iran is actually going to go and attack and, shut down the entire No, they're not. Their Navy is substantial for the small country that they are, but it doesn't hold a candle to any of the other navies of the world, including those of the United States. Now, what's really interesting about this, of course, is that Senator Marco Rubio, he was on one of the Sunday shows, and he was talking about it, and he's basically explained to everybody, he pretty much said, hey, you know what? It would be economic suicide if Iran were to shut down that narrow waterway. And the reason being, again, is because 80% of Iran's oil goes to China. And so what did he do? Marco Rubio says, hey, China, you might want to hold your buddy over here, Iran, and tell him, hey, you're only hurting us, you stupid morons. Yep. That's pretty much, he didn't say it that way. I'm paraphrasing for him. But he pretty much just said this. I encourage the Chinese government in Beijing to call them about that because they are heavily dependent upon the Straits of Hormuz for their oil. Rubio said that Iran would be making another terrible mistake should the regime proceed to shut down the strait. Rubio added, it's economic suicide if they do it, and we retain options to deal with that. But other countries should be looking at that as well. It would hurt other countries' economics a lot worse than ours. And it would be, I think, a massive escalation that would merit a response, not just by us, but by others or from others. Yeah. So, according to data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, an average of 20.9 million barrels of oil passed through the strait daily in 2023, accounting for roughly 20% of the global petroleum liquids consumption and more than 25% of global maritime oil trade. The majority go to China, like I said. And the U.S. government has, of course, sanctioned Chinese entities for buying Iranian oil. So, yeah. By the way, China reached out, and the next day after Iran mentioned this, and China reportedly on Monday, that would be today, said, yeah, no, please don't do that. It was reported that China had warned Iran to back down from its threat to close the strait. Yeah. So from China, quote, the Persian Gulf and surrounding waters are critical trade routes that must remain stable and open. There you go. Yeah. Oh, well, you remember that whole thing about, oh, Iran, if you attack Iran, we're going to end up losing. It's going to be World War III. Yeah, it doesn't even look like it. Even China's basically saying, you know what? You got your ass waxed. We're done. You tried to stand up. You got your bluff called. Freaking shut up and go back to doing business like we normally did. That's pretty much what's going on. I mean, let's just say that. Well, Iran wasn't done with their threats. And they're pissed. They're pissed because the head of the International Atomic Nuclear Agency, known as the IAEA, who is a UN person, by the way, Rafael Grossi, was threatened this past weekend as well by the advisor to the Iranian Supreme Leader, and he vowed to settle accounts with the IAEA guy, the UN, the head of the nuclear agency, because apparently the head of the nuclear agency wasn't supposed to tell everybody how Iran's uranium enrichment was supposed to go. Yeah. Really, I mean, seriously, come on, folks. I mean, let's be honest here. This is getting nuts. Okay, there are people, and look, I'm going to tell you, we're going to find out, seriously, in the coming weeks, and there's no reason to doubt this. We're going to find out how many sleeper cells and sleeper agents have actually been able to slip into the United States under Biden's leadership over the last 4 years and his open borders policy. Okay, we're going to find out. Either the FBI or, DHS or whoever is going to find them all, or, God forbid, something bad is going to happen, and they're going to succeed. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Please do not think that I am looking for that to happen. I don't want it to happen. I'd rather have them get broken off. But the fact of the matter is, we have literally no idea how many of these people are here. All thanks to the Biden administration and their open doors policy. And because of the fact that they just didn't bother to vet, they just brought anybody that they wanted in, pretty much, in an attempt to pad their voting numbers. And yes, that's true, because even the Chinese were helping to try and make things in 2020. So don't sit here and tell me that illegals are not voting. They are. It's been proven multiple times. People have been caught doing it, so on and so forth. Don't tell me that's not the case, and don't tell me that that the leftist Democrats don't like it, because they do. That's why they keep fighting against voter ID. But I digress. Anyway, the point is that this guy, Grossi, who is an Argentine career diplomat, which, by the way, the president of Argentina, Milei, yeah, he backed Trump all the way. He said, this has been long overdue, baby. Long overdue. Yeah. So just keep your eyes out. Keep, be aware. Keep your head on a swivel. Hell, even the Democrats are saying that. We're going to have our heads on a swivel. Jasmine Crockett actually used that phrase. Believe it or not, she actually used that phrase. I was amazed. I was shocked that she even knew what that meant. But keep your head on a swivel. Try and pay attention, especially, hey, all you people. Now, here's the thing. All of these guys, these morons that want to sit there and celebrate the true No King's Day in a No King's Day fashion, not a patriotic Independence Day fashion. All right. But in the fashion of, hey, we're going to protest no kings. You guys, you might want to not gather. Maybe. I mean, just a suggestion. You may not want to gather, because that would be a prime target for one of these Iranian cells. And don't think that it's close enough now. We're talking 2 weeks. If they had anything, roughly 2 weeks. If they have anything that they had planned, don't think that they won't do it on July 4th. Not to mention the fact that I believe July 4th is a 3-day weekend, and so everybody is going to be partying and everything else. I'm not saying don't go out and don't party, don't, have a ball on Independence Day, the real No King's Day. But at the same time, just be aware. Keep your eyes open, head on a swivel, that kind of thing, and let's keep in touch as far as, with our security side of our lives. Now, one other thing that happened is that everybody said, Iran gets hit and bombed, and next thing you know, Russia Russia's going to get involved because here's what's going to happen. It's World War III. And let's admit, there was a Russian former somebody, okay, who essentially was like, yeah, now that this has happened, I mean, we're willing to hand over nuclear weapons to Iran. Yeah, that was a false story. Yeah, that was false. Or at least on its face, false. Because here, apparently the foreign minister for Iran went and flew to Moscow yesterday, this was, so that would have been Sunday. He flew to Moscow on Sunday, ostensibly to get Russia to engage a little bit in this war. And instead, he got plenty of sympathy from Vladimir Putin, but that was it. Putin's like, pretty much like, okay, good luck with that. I understand. Good luck with that. See, what a lot of people don't seem to understand is Putin is already, I mean, let's be honest here. Whether you agree with the Ukraine war, or whether you agree with Ukraine, or whether you agree with Russia, it doesn't really matter. Russia has tried to take Ukraine. And yes, they've taken some territory, but they tried to march to Kyiv. And that hasn't gone very well. So a small country, granted backed by us and other Western allies, but a small country has basically been putting Russia on the back burner. They got their hands full already, folks. They're not interested in trying to get involved in any of us. And based on some of the reports that we've been hearing about, like, a third of their bomber fleet was taken out by Ukraine, they've got their hands full. And they're not going to be interested in trying to get involved in something else, especially if they end up going head-to-head against us. So they're really not going to be all that interested. And, So while Putin keeps talking about the fact that, this was unprovoked, it was unjustified, so on and so forth, he's not going to announce any support at this point. He's basically saying, you guys are just in trouble. That's it. So yeah, the message amounts basically, good luck, we're all behind you. So even Russia doesn't want to get involved. China is like, we're not ready either. I mean, we may want to take over Taiwan someday, so we can't jump into the middle of that. No way. We're not going to get involved with you. It's not going to happen. So all of this has basically been a nightmare to the Democrats, because every single time that they have turned their heads, the Democrats have found that, guess what? Nobody is coming to Iran's aid. This is not the World War III you're looking for, Democrats. This is not the World War III you're looking for, okay? I'm doing the Jedi mind trick because you guys just don't seem to get it, okay? You just don't seem to get it. It ain't going to happen. Now, don't think for a second, and thanks, G, you're putting it on there. Don't think for a second that Putin wouldn't hand over some money for maybe the contents of those trucks that might have gotten out of Fordham or Fordow, before Fordow, because those trucks that may have gotten out of Fordow before we bombed them. Yeah. Because, Putin loves his uranium. I seem to recall a certain Clinton that sold Russia's some of our uranium. Yeah, I recall all that. Anyway, well, we do not know. This is unconfirmed. Okay. Breaking news from the Epoch Times. Trump has announced that Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire that could end what this is being called as the 12-day war. Yeah. So, if this peace holds, or this ceasefire holds, It's going to be declared over. The conflict will be declared over by midnight Wednesday. So in about, 48 hours or so, the ceasefire is going to happen for 12 hours. And they're winding down. Both sides are supposed to wind down any of their final military operations within 12 hours. And then the conflict will be declared over within 24 hours after that. Don't know for sure if this is the case. This could just be Trump saying this and hoping that everything works out. I honestly, I don't know. Or it could be that Iran finally said, you know what? We're not getting any help. Nobody wants to help us. We've been to Russia. We've been to China. And they're all basically telling us the same thing, that we need to go pound sand. Not like we don't already have enough of it, but we need to go pound sand and just capitulate. And keep in mind, Iran might capitulate today, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to capitulate tomorrow. So keep in mind that this might be just a little, we're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see. But one thing that has come out of all of this, and this is honestly the resulting factor. See, a lot of people sit and think of Trump as, and this is something, I haven't said it, but a lot of people think of Trump as like a flip-flopper. That he says something and then he flip-flops on it later. You need to understand, he is a results-oriented individual. If he says something and the results don't happen, then he changes tactics and he does things differently in order to make the results happen. In this particular case, he basically is like a normally restrictive parent to a child. The child being Iran. And he's basically been, hey, you know what? I'm going to let you go, but you got better make the right decision soon. And if you don't, you're going to cross this line. And when you cross that line, that's when the consequences are going to come into play, which is exactly what happened. He gave him 60 days. Day 61, the consequences happened. He's not a flip-flopper. He's not what they call taco, okay? Which is, Trump always capitulates often or something like that. I don't even know what the damn acronym means. But the point is that Trump has basically said and told Iran, look, you got 60 days. Day 61, shit happened. Then he said, if you don't come to the table and dismantle your nuclear program, then, you're not going to have a nuclear program anymore. That what happened. Boom. 3 bombs, 3 sites, 3 destructive areas. And even if we only hit like 50% of the damn thing, it still knocked them offline. It's going to take them a little while to get back into the flow of things realistically. And what a lot of people don't seem to understand is that that's the way a real leader works. See, Trump's got the cojones to go ahead and do it. He's got the cojones. And don't think for a second that both Russia and China have not seen this. Okay? Oh, Palms actually just corrected me. Taco means Trump always chickens out. But here's the thing, folks. Don't think that China hasn't taken note of this, and don't think that Russia hasn't taken note of this, because Russia's been kind of like, about Ukraine. And now if Trump basically does the exact same thing and go, all right, we're going to put a time limit on this, don't think that Putin isn't going, geez, he went and did a strategic attack and bombed the shit out of them. Yeah, maybe I might want to think about coming to the table now. And China definitely over Taiwan. If you don't think that Trump doesn't say, hey, China, you leave Taiwan alone, don't think that they're not thinking the same thing. That they're like, he actually means what he says and says what he means. Not that hard to figure Trump out. Yes, he loves to troll. He loves to put things out there that most people are like, freaked out about. But that's part of his charm. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, or if you really want to, a thumbs down on all of my outlets, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.